Okay, welcome to a couple of examples of solving a quadratic equation by factoring. We're going to take a look at this a couple of problems. First one, I'd like for you to notice that it says to solve by factoring, so we have no other choice. Also that it equals 0. Now, we're going to use something called the zero product property, and that says this. That says that if I have something times another something, and I know that that's equal to a 0, so it doesn't matter what I have here. Something times something equals 0, then one of those things has to be 0. This one can be 0, or that one can be 0. Maybe both of them, but one of them has to be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this 3-term polynomial into a factored form. So let's take a look. Here we go. Because this is a minus, every time we know that that's going to be plus minus or minus plus. They're going to be opposites. And then all we have to do is really just take the factors of 12 and look and see which ones would give us what we need, which is a 4. So the only thing that would give us a 4 is this one. I need the big one to be a negative so that I get a negative. So that's negative 6 and a positive 2. Now I'm ready to use my zero product property that says that if something times something equals 0, then one of those somethings has to be 0. So I'm going to give that a chance to be the 0. I'm going to give also this one a chance to be the 0. So we really have the word or in between. I'm going to say that x is negative 2 or x is 6. So we look back at this problem, and if I indeed replace this with a negative 2, it will check out. It will be 0. But if I also replace this and this with a 6, it will also work. So two answers will work, basically because we have x squared. We know that we're going to have two answers, or at least a maximum of two answers. Okay, maximum of 2. It's possible we would have none, but we're not looking at that yet. So let's take a look at another example. And what I want to do on this one is show you a common mistake. If it says to solve by factoring, here's the problem. This is not set equal to 0. So the fact that it's not a 0 on the other side means that we have to do some preliminary work. We have to get it equal to 0 before we do the factoring. They've already factored it, but they went too soon, too early. We're going to have to FOIL this out. So I have x squared minus 4x plus 2x minus 8 equals 7. Now we're going to have to get the 7 off of the right side. And so now what we really have is x squared minus 2x minus a 15, and that's equal to 0. Once we have that, then we're going to go ahead and try to factor it now that this is a 0. Okay, so I'm really emphasizing that. I'm taking the time to write it. This is a 0. Now we're ready to factor. Here we go, using the zero product, right? Two things that multiply together have a product of 0. So I have a negative 15, so I'm going to factor 15 over here. I have a 15 and I have a 3 and a 5. The only way to get a 2 is with these two. I have a negative, it's going to be the 5, and I'm going to have a positive 3. Okay, that gives me my negative 2, excuse me, there's a positive 3 and a negative 5. That gives me my negative 2, and that checks out. So I'm ready to go ahead and find out that my x is going to be either a 5 or a negative 3. Okay, so either one would work. Okie doke, hope this helped. Thanks.